Namaste. My name is Todd and I'm the founder of Ashaya Yoga. And I want to invite you to the unveiling of the Pillars of Peace monthly membership that starts February 1st. And registration is open now. So this is a great way to create a consistent monthly practice, 3 times a week, several classes. And the All Access Pass gives you an additional 2.5-hour Ashaya immersion. Coming up, it's usually on a Saturday. So go to ashayayoga.com and check it out, and I invite you to come practice with me. Today, this is Asana Spotlight, and we're going to work with a wonderful posture called Bhujangasana. Bhujangasana. Bhujanga is the cobra, and there's an interesting mythology behind this image of the cobra. First of all, it has the sort of the cobra hood that expands out. It is a backbend pose. Fairly easy to do, and I'm going to show a lot of different modifications today for it. But this idea of cobra as a snake, as a serpent, goes all the way back to the mythology thousands of years ago with the idea of the life force that is coiled at the base of the spine. It's called the Kundalini, which means the coiled one. It's also the name of a goddess. And the idea is that through this posture, and of course all the other yogic practices, that we stir the Kundalini, and the consciousness that lies dormant in the base of the spine starts to open up. So this pose is great for clearing your mind and also for tapping into and increasing the life force, to awaken that revolution for evolution, the resolution of evolution, our inner resolve to evolve. And really it's this process of the sort of the deeper purpose behind yoga is to evolve our consciousness, to become more mindful, to become more aware, and to shift from living in the back brain, which is the old brain, the instinctive brain that is basically there to help us survive, but it's also the storehouse for our fear. To shift from the back brain, meaning to not be directed so much by that, of course it needs to be there, but to shift to the front brain, which is the brain of consciousness, of intuition, of creativity, of art, and our capacity to transcend. And it's almost like to develop this sixth sense, to feel, sense with all of our 5 senses, this idea of a universal spirit, a kind of universal consciousness that dwells deep in the heart, that brings us home and helps us wake up to our true nature, which is always this idea of ananda, or bliss. You must have heard the phrase Sat Chit Ananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss, which pretty much describes who we are. And so the yoga practice, and especially Ashaya Yoga, is a path to help us awaken our Shakti, or our life force, to have more fullness, to have a life full of meaning and depth of relationship, depth of connection, that ultimately leads to the fulfillment of why we're even here, and to have a deep sense of joy and understanding. So, yep, you're going to get all that just from practicing this pose. All right? The Cobra Pose, Bhujangasana, helps to strengthen the muscles of the back. That's its primary function. So we have so many different layers and sets of muscles from superficial to deep in the back. And we want to get those to tone, but also to have some flexibility. So this is a back extension. To lift the front of the torso up, the way we're going to do it requires arm strength, shoulder strength. So it's a whole upper body strengthening posture, as well as how to keep the legs grounded. I always like to think of the snake coming up out of the earth, or out of its snake hole, that the lower body has to be engaged, hugged in, and that's going to provide additional support to the spine. A lot of people get some pain when they come up into it, partially because they're either not engaging enough or they're engaging too much. And a lot of times when I'll say, okay, tone the buttock muscles, people will actually grip. And it's too firm. So yes, we need to tone, but we also need to line up the thighs. So you'll see there's a way to actually, when you're in Cobra, to move the thigh bones back. We're going to be in prone position, so it'll feel unusual. But most people don't take their thigh bones back in this pose. So the thighs go back, which helps to open up the space and position the head of the femur bone deep into the hip socket. And then you pull the tailbone in, which creates even more space and more connection in the hips and pelvis. So you should feel no pain in the hips, no pain in the lower back. Of course, unless you come up too high, then you just come down a little bit. And the whole idea is when we extend the spine, we want to lengthen the spine. So when you're doing a back arch, it's not just, crease your back as far back as you can, but it's how to actually grow the spine with length first before you go into the extension. All right? So we need to warm up the back a little bit, and the hips, and the hamstrings, and the psoas muscle. So come to all fours, middle of your mat, hands and knees. Come into tabletop pose. And bring your wrist creases straight ahead, fingers wide. Center of the wrist as wide as the outer shoulders. And just kind of eyeball it. Make sure your hands are not too close together. To prevent hyperextension, bend the elbows just a tiny bit. It's called the micro bend. And then claw your pads and roots. That's the finger pads underneath your fingernails. Roots are where the fingers join the hands. I'll say pads and roots. Now you know what that is. And then internally rotate your lower arm and put a little more pressure on index finger, knuckle, and thumb while you take the upper arm externally rotated. So your elbows will face at a 45. Heart is really soft, so you have to melt down to the heart, but keep your arms super strong. And then with the elbow slightly bent, pull your palms toward each other. This is really great to begin to strengthen the arms. So you isometrically pull palms toward each other. At the same time, the space right between the shoulder blades melts down. Lift your sitting bones. Look up, inhale. And then exhale, pull your tailbone in, go into cat pose, look into your heart. And then inhale, lift your sitting bones, arch as much as you can without pain, and then look up. Exhale, tailbone down, navel back. Inhale. Enjoy your breath and just go at your own breath rhythm. Notice where your spine feels tight or tense. While you're at it, check your knees. Make sure your knees are hip distance directly beneath your hips. And enjoy the movement. Now imagine your spine were like a snake and let it move smoothly. We think snakes are slimy, but they aren't. I grew up with snakes. Their skin is quite dry and soft. And I used to love holding snakes. I held a boa constrictor once. My cousin had a boa. They're amazing animals. So breathe into your cobra spine. And we bring some life force there. Bring a little bit of stretch, a little bit of tone. Come back to center. Walk your knees back about 3 inches. Curl your toes under. Lift your knees, lift your hips, go up into downward facing dog pose. Alternately press one heel down, then the other. Let's get the calves and the hamstrings to stretch. Go back and forth. And maybe deepen your breath a little bit because this takes more energy. Don't move your hands. Check your hands. Be steady in your hands. Then bend both knees. Take your inner thighs back, the inner thigh, the inner sitting bones back. Even your inner heels go back. Try to get a low back curve, like do a little back bend here. And then pull up from your finger pads and roots up to your heart. Lift your armpits a little bit higher, stabilize, but melt the upper back down. Good. Release your head. Ears are just slightly lower than the arms. And then draw your tail in slightly.
Press the base of your shins back with your knees bent. And then from your heart, push into the earth through your hands. And from your heart, root your heels. So heart to hands, heart to heels. And then grow your spine. Take the tops of your thighs back more. All right, now here's a really great hamstring stretch. Lift your right leg up and root the left base of your shin back. Oh, and breathe. Spin your right thigh in a bit. And then bend your right knee. Lift the right knee up. Our downward dog now comes into a wild dog pose. We see the wild dogs around here, coyotes. Lift your knee, bring it way up toward the sky. Now root the base of your left shin back. Okay, this will give you a hamstring stretch on the left leg, hopefully. And switch, exhale down. Inhale, left leg up. Hold, turn your left thigh in more. Keep your armpits lifted. And then begin to push the base of your right shin back. Press your right big toe ball mound down and pull it backwards, isometrically. That'll get it to stretch. Bend your left knee up, go to wild dog, lift the knee up and over. Push the base of your right shin back. Try not to lower your armpits, so keep both arms lifted evenly. And breathe. Good. Exhale. Release. Child's pose. Big toes touch. Widen out your knees a bit to make room for your belly. Come on down. Forehead to the floor and breathe. Enjoy your breath. Part of the awakening of consciousness, part of moving from the back brain to the forebrain, is we kind of release the tiredness, and there's like some sludge sometimes, obstacles in the way. And just with the breath and the movement and the stretch, you know, we're clearing out toxins, not just from the muscles, but psychically as well. And then inhale, come up all fours. Lunge your right foot forward between your hands. And feel free to take a couple of blocks to make it a little bit easier. Just like this. Okay? If you want a deeper stretch, you can put your hands in eagle talons like this. But the idea here now is to bend your right knee so your knee's over your ankle. Walk your back knee back more, left knee back, and then scissor your legs toward the middle. Scissor so much that you could lift your hands. Yeah. Okay? You keep the action, but you can place your hands down. And then right hand on the right knee, twist to the right. Move your right hip way back. Lift your heart. Exhale, release. Walk your hands over to the left. Bend your elbows and see if you can either touch the floor with your forearms or move toward the floor in that direction. And breathe. The pain you might be feeling, that's your hip. And just embrace it. Inhale, come up, walk your hands back, hands on blocks if you need, until your right leg is straight. Root the right heel and pull back isometrically. Pull your tailbone in and bow. Breathe. I know you thought we already stretched the hamstrings. We did. But not this way. All right, exhale, bend your right knee. Switch, go back to downward dog. And then just step your left foot forward. Come onto blocks as needed. Come into the lunge. And then scissor your leg. So what I mean by that is the left foot pulls back isometrically. And your right knee pulls forward. And then squeeze so much that you really don't need your hands. So I'm doing this all with my hips and my legs. And you can put your hands down just to stabilize. Eagle talons or blocks. Very good. Pull your tailbone in more. And then left hand on left leg, twist. Take your left shoulder back a bit, lift your heart. Lengthen your spine, just inhale and lengthen. And then exhale, turn your heart toward the sky more. And breathe. What's nice is that when we move from the back brain, like when we start to release fear, we start to live fully. And then art happens, intuition opens up, we're able to listen better, our communications improve, relationships improve, like everything improves. And we need that forebrain partly so we can see a path forward. So often there's a hole in the path, hole in the road, and we're walking down and we just fall into it without seeing it. And you need sort of like this vision to help lift us out of the habit and the patterns of fear, sometimes unworthiness, sometimes just a deep level resistance. Exhale, release, walk your hands over to the right, bend your elbows, see if you can bring your forearms down toward or to the floor, scissor your legs more, and breathe. Inhale, come up, walk your hands back, stretch your left leg straight, root the heel, flex your foot, and isometrically pull backwards. Draw your tailbone in, navel back, and then bow forward. And that, you should feel a hamstring stretch or calf stretch or both. Spread your toes, get your left fifth toe, the little toe, to spread wide. And breathe. Yep. Good. Exhale. Bend your left knee. Step forward with your right foot. Root your feet. Sweep your arms out to the side. Inhale, come up. And then exhale, release. Arms down. Palms in front. Utkatasana. Inhale, reach up. And check your feet. Make sure they're hip distance and parallel. Bend your knees. Stick your butt way, way back. Then cross your wrists. Put your hands on your inner thighs and push down. And then push apart. So we want to get the thighs not only to spin in, but to widen apart. And you can do it like this. This looks like I'm having a bathroom problem, but it looks worse than it is. It feels great. Lift and spread your toes and just turn your thighs in and push apart. Keep your center of your knee tracking with toe 2 and 3. Okay. All right, so you keep that. Now pull your tailbone in. Try to sit on the very edge of a chair. And then can you stretch your arms up, armpits back. Pull your tailbone in more. Pull your ribs back. And see if you can straighten your spine like you're going to press your shoulders against the back wall. Just try to do that an inch or even a half inch. Very good. Hold. Breathe. And pray. Pray that we don't hold much longer. Don't let your knees drop inward. So you got to widen your thighs. Center knee as wide as toe 2 and 3. And then root down through your feet. Inhale, come up. Exhale, fold forward. Uttanasana pose. Hands on blocks or ego talons on the floor. Pull your heels backwards, isometrically. Ribs in. And then draw your tail. Sitting bones toward heels. Lift your armpits away from your legs, heart toward your legs. Breathe. Root down through your feet. Inhale, sweep arms out to the side, come up. And exhale. Release. Okay, consider yourself warmed up, more or less. You're going to need a belt here. And come on down to the floor. Just have the belt nearby. Belly down. Stretch your toes back. Feet are hip distance. And just soften. Let your whole body melt into the earth. Open to the bigger energy. And then engage. Hug in. Cobras, like snakes, they're kind of earthy. So hug earth. Bring your shins toward the middle. be on the very top of the front of the foot, not with your heels parallel, not heels wide. You can see, I don't know if you can look up, but here's like I go really bow-legged here because my heels go out and the feet sickle. So bring your heels in, stretch your toes back, and then pull up from your toenails all the way to your pelvis. Now, here's where we roll the thighs in. So just turn them in, lift your butt up in the air. Keeping that, draw your tailbone down. Sphinx, come onto your forearms. So this is one of the modifications. It's just like a little warm-up. So elbows are under shoulders, palms parallel. And then turn your lower arms in like we did in tabletop. So try to get your index fingers and thumbs to stay connected. And then pull back with your forearms isometrically. Lift your heart. Take your shoulders back if you can get them to go back at all. And then externally rotate your upper arms. And when you externally rotate, notice how the outer edge of the scapula, lateral border of the scapula, hugs in. So upper arms roll out externally, lower arm roll in internally. Yeah, it's called functional coupling. When you're doing two opposite things, you're making the contrasts complementary. And then melt the heart. Pull down through your tailbone now and lift your low belly away from the floor. That'll give you some extra spinal support. The neck grows on the same line as your spine, so kind of visualize your spine and then lengthen your neck as well. Begin to draw the palate back, but lift the back of your skull at the same time. So palate goes back, which lifts your chin. But that's too much of a neck curve. We have to add length. So palate goes back, but the occiput, back of the skull, goes up. So it's this little ratchet motion, like one of those ratchet wrenches. So you take the palate back, occiput up, palate back, occiput up, palate back, occiput up. I mean, it'll lift you up out of the pose. And then lastly, from your pelvis, push down through your feet and out. And then from your pelvis, lengthen your spine more. If you want to go a little bit deeper in Sphinx, try to lift your elbows 2 inches off the floor. And then exhale, elongate as you come down. Stack your hands, make a little pillow for your head, and just turn your head to one side. Rest. Now let's place the palms under the shoulders. So that was like a little warm-up. It's its own pose, Sphinx pose. But now, with chin or forehead on the floor, bring your palms under the shoulders, slightly forward of the shoulders. It's going to help out for your elbows. Wrist creases straight ahead, just like tabletop claw pads and roots. Hug your elbows just a little closer. You don't want to snug your elbows into your ribs, but just hug them in a little bit. Lengthen your side ribs, shoulders back. And then squeeze your legs toward the middle. Roll your thighs in. Your butt domes upward. Then pull your tailbone down. And from your pelvis, root down through your legs. And from your pelvis, start to come up. As you come up, claw pads and roots, pull backwards with your hands. You'll feel this added strength in your shoulders. Remember, I said this is a upper body strengthener. So if you get tired, you come down and rest. But hold, pull back, side ribs long, head of the arm bones back more. Then find the lower tip of your shoulder blades and try to curl those into the back of the heart so that the front of the heart lifts. From your pelvis, push out through your feet. And from your pelvis, this life force energy rises up through the spine, through the belly, heart, throat, third eye, that's the point right between the eyebrows, and crown. And breathe. We hold
And we awaken the serpent, or we could say the life force that rises like a cobra out of the basket, or from back brain to forebrain. Exhale, come down. Make a pillow with your hands again, but turn your head to the opposite side this time and rest. And enjoy all the benefits. There's strength, there's tone for the low back. Upper body gets a workout. Really good for the spinal discs as they centralize. Instead of the discs moving towards the back or herniating slightly out through the back, they're drawn more toward the front. So they're well positioned. And just let your breath extend a healing light through all the vertebrae and the discs between the vertebrae, these little soft pads. All right. And we're going to do a little variation now. So, last one, place your hands under your shoulders, hug your legs, pull from your feet all the way up to the pelvis, like you're putting on some fully insulated ski pants. And then interrotate your thighs, tailbone in, claw your hands. And then inhale, come up. And come down just a little bit until you can lift your hands off the floor. So I want you to try to do this with your back muscles. So with your palms off the floor, you should come down a little bit. Pull your tailbone in more, squeeze your legs more, and just sort of work your back muscles and the shoulders. Excellent. Now place your hands. Come up more. You can use your hands to push down. Head of the arm bones back. Rise even more from your pelvis. Root into the earth more. Don't let your heels splay. Hug them in. Tailbone in, and from your pelvis, rise more. Imagine you're hearing the flute. Isn't that true? Like there's always like some Eastern sounding flute where the cobra then comes out of the basket. Celestial music. Head of the arm bones back. Curl your shoulder blades into the back of the heart. Lift your heart with the resolution for evolution. To release fears. Go beyond the survival instinct to intuition, to creativity, to art, to consciousness, and to our capacity to understand. Now, come down just a little bit. Look over your right shoulder, but keep your left shoulder back. Look over, look to the right. Left shoulder pins back. And now lengthen your left toes back more. Stretch your left leg while you twist right. You feel a little bit of stretch on the left waistline. And then exhale, come down for a moment. Take one breath. And then inhale, come up. Head of the arm bones back. Claw your hands. Look to your left. Look over the left shoulder, but take your right shoulder back. Now, lengthen your right leg more. Look to the left. Right leg long. Yep, stretch. You'll feel like the right side of your rib cage grow. Right leg back, right ribs forward. And exhale, come back to center and go down. And come back into child's pose where the big toes touch. Knees are wide. And head down. Arms in front. And take some deep breaths. Release your hips. Especially release your arms. I can't believe what a great workout this is for the upper body. Enjoy the child's pose. Receive all the benefits of Cobra, that you awaken that inner longing for freedom inside. And then inhale and slowly come up. take a comfortable seated position. Bring your palms together in front of your heart. Lift your heart, take your head back, take your shoulders back. Close your eyes and imagine you living in your awakened state to be able to fulfill the gift that you've been given, and to bring your gift out into the world, to let your light shine even brighter beyond the fears, with the fears, to not let the fears stop you from having an awesome life and an awesome day today. May we touch the universal consciousness with our own individual heart and draw it in. And then may we shine this light back out into the universe for all beings. We pray for all beings have freedom from suffering and freedom on all levels of all kind. Let's take a deep breath and we'll chant Om. Om. Namaste. Thank you so much. Thank you for practicing with me on Asana Spotlight. And please join me. Go to ashayayoga.com. You can get on my mailing list and come join the Pillars of Peace for an amazing community of practitioners, heart followers who want support to establish good habits, good practices, so that every day we open up this life force. And we're much more fully present in the world. We're able to stand strong in the storm, cultivate the calm in the chaos. That's the real yogi. That's the yogi in the world. Okay, have a great day.